Kenneth G. Hasty Raw in 3, 2, 1.
Hi everybody, Kenneth G. Hasty back again. Hope you're enjoying my free video series. These are my way of giving back for all my years of experience in sales management, marketing, etc. And largely these are for business owners and for salespeople. So hopefully they help. And if you haven't seen one yet, that's what these are all about. So today we're going to talk about a topic, crisis and opportunity, or affectionately called when it hits the fan. So anyway, crisis and opportunity. If you see that symbol, the Chinese character there, my mouth is covered, sorry. You see that Chinese character there? That's the Chinese character that talks about crisis and opportunity. What's that mean? And of course, you got all the naysayers out there and people dispute that here and there on the internet, but I'm going with it. Basically what it means is for every crisis, there's an opportunity. And if we start viewing sales that way, then, it helps. Give you an example, money, big money crisis, stock market or whatever. Money never goes away. It just goes somewhere else. So if you follow the money, find the people with the money, you probably make the sales. But basically, we're going to talk about how you can capitalize on that in sales and how it can help you. And then I've got a chapter on that in my book on 77 Seconds to Sales Success, something you might want to check out as well. So let's talk about it. So what do I mean by crisis and opportunity? I'll give you an example. When I was in my young career in sales, I worked for a company that sold physical therapy equipment. And there's this one fairly complicated piece of equipment called an EGS machine. And I got a little bit of training. I was down in California. I flew home to Seattle. And while I was in California, they said, we got this doctor in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, is really ticked off. He wants to return to this machine, and you need to get down there right away. So my first day on the job, I drive down to Portland, Oregon. And anyway, here's the problem that I was worried about. When you're in sales, if somebody returns a major product, then that goes against your commission for the month. It goes against your monthly quota. So this was about a $10,000 piece of equipment. My quota was probably at the time maybe $30,000. So basically I'd go minus $10,000 on my first day if he returned it. So I was a little concerned about that. Now I got to make that up and everything else just to earn my keep. So anyway, I went down there, and this guy was belligerent. He was just hot under the collar, and he wanted to get rid of this piece of crap and my crappy company and all this kind of stuff. And so I said, well, okay, I understand. I said, before I throw this thing in the trash and return it, you mind if I take a look at it? Let's take a look. Let's walk through. And okay, yeah, here's the piece of equipment. Now, I've been trained on how to use it. I didn't claim to be an expert. I mean, this guy, after all, is a doctor. He's definitely could be an expert. But what I learned is, in selling, you have to know your product. Just because they're a doctor doesn't mean that they know more about your product than you do. They know a lot more about a lot of things, but you're the expert, or working on or trying to be the expert on your stuff, right? So I go in and I start looking at this, and we started going through the settings and stuff, and it turns out that he was using it wrong. He'd set it up wrong. And so while I was working on it, I said, so the reason you got this is, so you can treat your patients better, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it's a piece of crap, but it's okay. I showed him, I said, well, I hate to say this, but it's set up wrong. I don't know if one of your staff did it, and always blame it on the staff. I don't know if one of your staff did it or what, but let me show you. And I set it up and got it working right, and he was kind of embarrassed. Here I'd had to drive 150 miles to come out and set this up, and we stood out in the parking lot and talked for a while after work. To this day, he's one of my best friends. So if you could turn around a crisis and turn it into an opportunity, then it actually. It's got an effect on people because they're so heavily negatively involved in the crisis side. When you can turn it around and make it a positive, then it's a win-win for everybody. So let me talk about some more examples. I've had some requests to talk more about my history and my past with different examples, so we'll go through a few. I made some little notes here that you probably can't see. When I was, years ago, I was the counter guy or the inside guy for a water well equipment manufacturer, and we had water well pumps that, a lot of them were called submersible. So they go way down, sometimes thousands of feet down a pipe to get to the water, down to the aquifer. And then you pump the water and, it's all good. But one of the things that happens, and this was in Arizona, that's fairly common, is they get down to the aquifer and there's a bunch of sand. And what do you think sand does to the inside of a pump when you're pumping thousands of gallons of water through? It's like sandpaper in there. It grinds it, messes it up. And after a while, it clogs it and it jams and doesn't work. So I learned something. I worked the counter, and a well driller might have just driven 200 miles. Might have been up since 4 in the morning trying to get this pump working. Comes in, and they're not happy. And what makes it worse is most of the pumps, they're putting in a section of pipe, screwing it in, another section of pipe, screwing it in as they drop it down hundreds or thousands of feet. And to take it out, guess what? Pull up a section of pipe, unscrew it, set over here. It's a big, arduous process, and these guys were ticked. I mean, they were upset when they walk in the door. So I'd be standing there, okay, great. And I learned a couple things. One is I learned to use feel, felt, found, and here's what I do. They'd stand over there, they'd slam this thing down on the counter, and I'd walk around the corner, and I'd stand with them. I say, you know what? I'd be pissed too. I spent all day working on this thing. I don't blame you, man. I said, I feel your pain. Just let it go. It's okay. And that shows them that I care and I'm kind of with them. And then I was able to say, I'd feel the same, but a lot of my customers, when they come in, they felt that way. And I don't blame them, absolutely, But then they found that maybe the pump wasn't so bad after all. Maybe it was an outside thing like sand or something. So do you mind if we take a look? Can we open it up and I'll take it apart? Let's take a look. And like, there's no sand in this pump. And man, when you pour out the sand, there's no denying that, And then they're kind of embarrassed, and then they're kind of mad, and and then you do what you can to take care of them. But it's important that you're always honest. You can't, if you're dishonest, it's going to come back and bite you. That's why used car salesmen have a bad reputation a lot of the times. So in your career and as you move forward, don't start lying or making up stories or whatever. Just deal with it. Because sometimes it's legitimate. And I'll give you an example. I was selling dental implants in Texas. And I had a good customer. There was kind of a transition going in the industry at the time. And in Texas, most doctors were putting in a kind of a bullet-shaped implant, and they drill a little hole, and then they tap it in. Nice word for hammer it, So they tap it in, and it goes in. But screw-threaded implants, basically screws, started becoming more popular because you screw it in. They had what they call a stronger immediate fixation, yada yada. And so I started slowly converting my main customers into the screw-type implants. The problem was, so I found, that when you have a screw-type implant, there's a piece that's already on there. It's kind of like a socket that's pre-attached so that you can place the implant. So that snaps into a little, almost like a ratchet. So you kind of screw it down in, or you can do it with a power tool. But anyway, these come in different heights. And this company I was working with, for whatever reason, only came out with a fairly long one, which is good if you're going in between teeth and stuff. But if you're just on, what they call fully edentulous, or just on the no teeth in the jaw. Now you got this really long thing. And the farther back you go, because your jaw kind of opens like this, farther back you go, the shorter distance you have. So one of my main customers called me up, and he was mad. And he's trying to hide it. He's a very classy gentleman. And he said, I don't know if I can do a Texas accent, but I'll kind of give it a perspective. So he goes, I got a problem here. I was placing your implants, and I think that your engineers are probably in a room with really tall ceilings. But in the mouth, it just doesn't work. And so anyway, he kind of went off, and I'm like, man, I said, I feel exactly like you would, this is where you got to leverage your having always been honest with the person. Say, look, I'm going to be honest with you. They're working on that. They're about to come out with a new series. How about this? Don't return it, because that meant I would have to make up that sale, lose a bunch of commission. So how about this? When they come out, I'll trade you. So it shouldn't be very long, and just hang on to those for a while. When the shorter ones come out, I'll trade you for those. And then they said, okay, fine. To this day, we're close friends. And it's just being honest, it's dealing with it, and finding a solution, try to find a good solution for them. So when it hits the fan, right? All right, so The last but not least example I'll give you is crisis and opportunity. One person's crisis can be another person's opportunity. I'll give you an example. This was back in the dental implant days. One of the companies manufactured their implants in a country outside the United States, and that's not uncommon, but in this case, it was a decent country that people know well, and I won't go into it because then you know the company. But long story short, is the FDA goes and inspects factories even overseas, especially when it's a medical device. So they had gone to this factory and said, hey, you're not doing things the American way, and we want you to start doing them like this. And they're kind of like, well, we're not American, and you know. Well, the problem is that the FDA has a lot of authority on what comes into the country. So they shut down their import into the country. This was the biggest company at the time in this business. And the FDA said, sorry, can't ship to our country until you fix that. Well, there's this little fledgling company that was starting to make clones of this product that skyrocketed. They took advantage of the what I want to say, the catastrophe or what have you, and turned it into a benefit for them. They said, hey, we got this, we got it. And they had to convince people that it wasn't voodoo, that, yeah, it's the same material, same shape and that. But when they did, that product became a major player in the industry, and now is one of the top companies in the industry because they were able to take advantage of somebody else's crisis with their opportunity. So basically, you want to be honest, you want to offer solutions, and just remember, just because it's a crisis doesn't mean there's not an opportunity. So clear your head, don't get too emotional, and that's that. So if you like these videos, it's kennethghasty.com. Reach me at kennethghasty@gmail.com. And please like, share, retweet, or whatever, and we'll keep doing them. All right? So have a great day. Thanks. Bye.